What is GEO versus AEO? And by the way, what's AIO? And how does this all relate to SEO? Now, the industry that's doing AI and search is generating an insane number of acronyms, and I'm here to break down what each of these means. So let's start with the first one, the old school. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and this was the sort of classic view of search where you worked to get links, you improved content, you maybe got some mentions in a publication, and suddenly you won one of the links at the top of Google. And we had these classical 10 blue links that we probably all remember, and it's still there, but it's no longer quite as significant as we'll get to. And that was the game in SEO. There were a lot of tweaks, a lot of keyword stuffing that people would do, and all kinds of strategies for link building, and that was the world before. But that world has evolved. And now we have GEO. GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization, and it's an evolution of SEO. And basically the goal here is to get your brand or your website or you yourself, your personal brand, mentioned in the chatbots that people are increasingly using instead of traditional search. So that could be ChatGPT, it could be Claude, it could be even Perplexity, a service like that. It can also, as we'll get to in a minute, include some of Google's own AI. For example, their Gemini system, which is another chatbot, but also the AI overviews at the top of a Google search result page. We'll get to that again in a moment. But GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, refers to the strategies that you use to get yourself into these generative engines, these generative AI-powered large language models or chatbots where people are increasingly going to get information instead of the original Google. And there's a lot of ways to do that. It's similar to SEO in many ways. I'm not going to get into that here. We can certainly look at the other videos on my channel for a lot more detail on how to actually do GEO. Now, there's a competing acronym, because of course there is, AEO, Answer Engine Optimization. That's what AEO stands for. Again, evolution of SEO, I like the idea of this is tied to those answer engines, the idea that a chatbot is an answer engine instead of a search engine. And often GEO and AEO are used interchangeably. Some people like the generative piece, emphasizing generative AI. Some people like the answer piece, emphasizing, well, what do these things like ChatGPT do? Well, they answer your questions, so let's call them an answer engine. But answer engine optimization also can have an extra component, depending on how people are talking about it, which can be basically getting yourself into any of the answers that you might find in a search engine context. And again, that can be generative ones like a chatbot where people ask a question and it answers, but it can also include snippets at the top of Google, or people also ask questions, which you can see on a Google search results page, basically anything where there is a question and answer format. So sometimes people use AEO and GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, Answer Engine Optimization, to mean the same thing. Sometimes people tack on those extra, what we call surfaces, those extra places where answers are provided when they're talking about AEO rather than GEO. I personally like GEO better. I think it's clearer that that's the generative engines, and then we can handle the rest of search somewhere else in traditional SEO kinds of things. But again, use the term that makes the most sense for you. However, there's another one, AIO. So AIO usually stands for AI overviews. So what's an AI overview? Well, this is the AI that answers questions at the top of a Google page. So say I put in a query like, what is the largest hotel lobby? Before, I would have just gotten my 10 blue links and I could have clicked through and looked at it. But now we have the AI overview, AIO, at the top of the search result page. And here, Google's actually using its own Gemini AI to read through a bunch of results and summarize and write up an answer to my question here. And so that's usually what people mean when they say AIO. They're referring to an AI overview. Confusingly, you use AEO to get into an AIO, right? You use answer engine optimization, let's go back to that, in order to get into an AIO, an AI overview. Or you can use GEO to get into an AI overview. So It's a little bit confusing, but an AI overview is the thing at the top of Google. Answer engine optimization means getting into chatbots, but also these things at the top of Google, whether it's AI powered or not. And GEO is really specific to getting into those chatbots alone. Now, let's do one more acronym here, which is OMG, as in OMG, why does one industry need so many acronyms? And there's another acronym that I can include in here as well, a 3-letter one, that would be a little bit not safe for work, but would also sum up my general thoughts on how these have proliferated. So that's a look at what all of these different acronyms actually mean. If you found this helpful, please do like and subscribe. You can follow along here for tons more information about GEO, AEO, AIOs, and all of the other fun acronyms, and actually how to do the work here in this emerging space.